We've done so much. We hate Maduro. Maduro's a bad guy. Your days are numbered. You know, it's kind of like the schoolboy bully. I think we need to be careful what we say, and we need to make sure they mean business and be ready to do whatever we're willing to do, even if it means military force, which is a very drastic option in Latin America.
House Foreign Affairs Committee member Francis Rooney saying U.S. military involvement in Venezuela remains an option. This as the country's opposition leader and U.S. recognized president of Venezuela, Juan Guaido, prepares to make another bid for a military uprising. It would follow his failed attempt to oust disputed President Nicolas Maduro last Tuesday. Let's bring in Ana Quintana, senior policy analyst for Latin America and the Western Hemisphere at the Heritage Foundation. Ana, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So the Trump administration has said all options are on the table, but we haven't had a clear signal from the president about the U.S. military getting involved there on the ground, nor has Guaido asked for that yet, although our reporter on the ground there, Steve Harrigan, says he remains open to that idea. What are you hearing?
So I'm hearing right now I think one thing that we should be clear about is last week was not an upset. He was not defeated. In fact, actually, he achieved, and by he I mean Guaido achieved quite a few strategic victories. Maduro's head of intelligence defected, and he is now on Guaido's side, and he's now spilling the secrets about where the bodies are buried and what are the nasty things that the Russians and the Chinese have been doing. He's now giving information on where are Maduro's weak points and what's the best way of beating Maduro. So, you know, when we hear about why aren't we hearing more definitive answers about, you know, a military operation inside of Venezuela, it's pretty much why, because we're so far away from that. There's still so much that the U.S. and other international partners can do to oust Maduro.
Right. Well, and it also seems like a very fluid situation on the ground there where anything could happen. One thing is clear, though, the Trump administration does not want to leave the door open for another bad actor, so to speak, to slip in there and take a foothold in the country. Here's the Secretary of State on that.
The president's been very clear on this. He said, I think it was in a tweet several weeks back, the Russians have to get out. That remains our view. We want the Venezuelan people not to have interference from any country, whether it's China or Russia. You now have Iranians on the ground in Venezuela. We know about the long history with a couple of thousand Cuban thugs essentially controlling that country today.
So, Ana, based on that, are you concerned if we don't do something to solve this, Russia, China, or even Iran will gain much more influence there? And what are the ramifications of that?
I mean, I think it's a huge concern, right, to consider not just the regional threats, right, and the regional countries that are involved, but the international power players like Russia and China. They are capitalizing on this, and they are trying to take advantage of the weaknesses within the Maduro regime. But I think one of the advantages that the Trump administration has right now in supporting a transition inside of Venezuela is that it's not just the United States that's at this alone. It's 53 other countries. It's a significant chunk of Latin America. It's the vast majority of South America. I mean, you have never seen such regional or international consensus on a singular issue. And I think a lot of this is due to the Trump administration and this kind of coalition of willing partners that they've put together.
Okay, and in the meantime, people are without electricity there. They're without food. They're without basic necessities. How long can the United States stand by while this is happening in our hemisphere?
You know, the United States and other countries have committed a significant amount of resources to the over 3 million Venezuelan refugees who fled the country. The Red Cross is involved. The United Nations is involved as well. I mean, various other multilateral partners and, you know, U.S. agencies are involved in bringing humanitarian assistance to the country. But frankly, the greatest tool and the greatest policy prescription to fixing the humanitarian crisis is to get Maduro out of power. Maduro needs to leave, the regime needs to end, and there needs to be a democratic transition in the country to start the economic rebuilding and reconstruction of Venezuela.
Right. Well, I think we're all hoping for a very peaceful solution there. Ana Quintana, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.